What if I told you there's a hidden blueprint to the universe, a master code where a ruler's single decision could literally cause an earthquake or a moral failing could trigger a drought? Well, we're about to dive into an ancient text that lays out exactly that, a vision of a cosmos where everything, and I mean everything, is profoundly and powerfully connected. So here's how we're going to crack this cosmic code. First, we'll look at the fundamental rules of this universe. Then, we'll pop the hood and see what makes its engine run. After that, we'll get into the crucial role people play in all this, how the cosmos actually talks back, and finally, we'll uncover the one core principle that makes the whole system work. All right, let's set the scene. We're going back to Han Dynasty China, over 2,000 years ago. This is the world of a philosopher named Dong Zhongshu and his incredible work, the Chun Qiu Fan Lu. Now, think about this for a second. What if the weather outside, the health of the population, and the actions of the government weren't separate things at all? What if they were all just different parts of one single, giant, responsive system? That's the huge mental leap at the heart of this whole philosophy. You see, this text isn't some dusty old book of abstract ideas. It's much more like a user manual. It's a practical guide for a ruler on how to operate inside a universe that listens, that responds, and that's all built on a kind of hidden cosmic operating system. So, what is this operating system? How is this whole cosmic machine built? Well, it runs on a very specific code, a set of principles that governs literally everything. Let's break that code down. At the absolute core of it all, you have yin and yang. Now, it's really important to not think of these as good versus evil. That's not it at all. Think of them as the universe's binary code, zeros and ones. Two complementary forces whose constant dance and interplay creates everything we see and feel. And you can see here, it's not just about simple opposites. There's a sort of complementary hierarchy. Yang is the active, the heavenly, the virtuous. It's personified by the ruler. Yin, on the other hand, is the receptive, the earthly, the foundational force, like a minister supporting the ruler. The idea is that when Yang leads and Yin follows, you get cosmic harmony. Okay, the next layer of this code involves the 5 elements, or wuxing. And again, you kind of have to shift your thinking. These aren't just static things like wood or metal in the ground. You have to see them as 5 dynamic phases or processes that are always transforming into one another. And their main relationship is this beautiful, self-perpetuating loop. It's actually pretty intuitive. Wood fuels fire, right? Fire burns down, and its ash creates earth. Earth, in turn, bears metal within it. Metal, when it's cool, carries water through condensation. And of course, water nourishes wood. And boom, the cycle starts all over again, just endlessly generating. And this is where it gets really wild. This system goes way beyond just the physical world. Each of those elements also corresponds to seasons, to directions, and even to human virtues. So in this view, the virtue of benevolence is a direct expression of wood and spring. Righteousness is tied to metal and autumn. The universe, nature, and our own morality are all woven from the exact same elemental fabric. It's all connected. So, we've got this incredible cosmic engine chugging along with yin-yang and the 5 elements. But how does our world, the world of humanity, plug into it? Well, this system needs an operator. It needs a central node that links human society to the patterns of heaven and earth. And that operator is the ruler. You have to understand, the emperor's job here is so much more than just being a political leader. In this worldview, he is the single most important pivot point in the entire cosmic chain. His actions are the primary input that determines the output of the whole system. Talk about pressure. And this quote from the text really says it all. Everything hinges on the ruler's conduct. If his character is good and his policies are just, the fundamental energy of the universe, the qi, flows smoothly. But if he's incorrect, the system starts to glitch and weird things, anomalies, begin to pop up. So that brings up a pretty big question, right? If you're the ruler, how do you know if you're on the right track? Well, the good news is the universe doesn't leave you guessing. It gives you direct and often pretty dramatic feedback. This feedback comes in the form of portents and omens. These are not random acts of nature, no way. In this system, they are direct messages from heaven, basically acting as warnings that the ruler has messed up and needs to take a good, hard look at his actions. I mean, just imagine being at court when you hear reports of stars falling like rain or a mountain suddenly collapsing. Things like a solar eclipse or an earthquake weren't just natural disasters. They were urgent messages. They were like celestial memos telling the ruler, hey, get your house in order, now. So what is the underlying mechanism that makes all this work? I mean, how can a ruler's bad policy in the palace actually cause a drought hundreds of miles away? It all boils down to one single, really elegant principle. The principle is 同类相动, and it basically means that things of the same category or kind activate one another. The best way to think about it is like sympathetic resonance. You know how if you pluck a string on a violin, the exact same string on another violin nearby will start to vibrate all by itself without anyone touching it? They resonate because they're of the same kind. Well, that is the fundamental logic of this cosmos. Good actions, which are aligned with young and heavenly virtues, resonate with and literally attract positive things, like timely rains for the crops. On the flip side, immoral actions resonate with and attract negative things, like floods and earthquakes. The universe is basically one giant cosmic echo chamber. And the ultimate takeaway here is a mind-blowing sense of total responsibility. In a system like this, there's no such thing as a private action. Every single thing a ruler does, from their own personal character to their biggest political decisions, sends vibrations out across the entire interconnected web of existence. So that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. We live in a world that often feels incredibly fragmented, where we draw hard lines between politics and the environment, or between personal morality and public outcomes. So what might we gain? What could we learn by spending some time with a worldview where absolutely everything is connected?